tonight is a bit of like a special for Yud-Tes Kislev. Yud-Tes Kislev being the day of liberation of the Baal Tanya. So our night is the full moon, right? Of Kislev, of this month. And we already been speaking, we started off a couple of weeks ago, a few weeks ago, speaking about what's the greatness of Kislev, right? That it begins with, firstly, this month has like some of the darkest days of the year, like the winter nights, like if you see sunsets, the earliest times these weeks. So it starts off very dark almost, and then it ends off with with light, illumination in the darkness, through the darkness, right? That is Chanukah light. That's the most apparent, right? Then more on the Hasidic calendar or Chabad Hasidic calendar, the 19th of Kislev is the day when, as we mentioned, that the founder of Chabad, the Yud-Tes Zalman of Liadi, was freed from Tsarist Russian prison. And so that is also a time of celebration and illumination. And his name, Shnei-Or, means two or double light. That means his name meant light. That means he brought light even in this times of darkness, even in prison. Why two lights? Because he was a great, in addition to being a great leader, he was a great Torah scholar. In the light of revealed Torah, and in the light of esoteric Torah, Nigleh and Nistar, or Nigleh and Chassidus, right? So corresponding to these two entities, therefore, there's that doubleness of the light. In fact, the hagiography in Chabad is that when Rabbi Schne'ur Zalman Liadi was born, who knows when he was born? When is his birthday? Very good. The 18th of Elul, Chai Elul, which, according to Chabad tradition, is also the birthday of the Baal Shem Tov. Okay, this is almost, I think, it's a unique, Chabad tradition about it. Okay, so as we'll see later, Rabbi Schne'ur Zalman of Liadi, who became one of the main leaders of Chassidism after his master, the Maggid of Mezrich, passed away, who was the main successor of the Baal Shem Tov himself. That so that the Baal Tanya was imprisoned right after Simchas Torah time of 1798, and then he was taken to prison and taken to St. Petersburg, put into prison, and after several weeks he was finally freed. Which day? The 19th of Kislev. Incidentally, and this is like off the records, even though we're live, but it's something that's a bit not like, not, as we say, it's not so edel. Just practically, if we say that the Alter Rebbe was born Chai Elul, so when was he conceived? What is 9 months before Chai Elul? So the answer is Yud-Tes Kislev, Bishvat Adar Nisan Iyar 7 times of Elul. Okay, so already even before his very conception, so to speak, and before he was born, contained already his future day of a great day of celebration and liberation, which is also the day which meant that finally he could shine his double light, to reveal his light fully. And that's why in the Chabad tradition, it was only after that arrest that Shnei-ur Zalman, the Alter Rebbe, started really emanating and really blowing Torah endlessly. In fact, they say before Peterburg that the Torahs of the Shnei-ur Zalman say that before Peterburg were more short, and it was almost like on fire, like snippets. Really, people like short words and like whoa, and they could live for weeks. After St. Petersburg's, they became longer Torahs. Like it was like he was just able to flow more. That means he was shining. Okay. So there's that, again, that motif of illumination and to its greatest power. So with Kislev, so again, when is this great celebration Yud-Tes Kislev? Is after the full moon of Kislev, right? Chanukah is even later, right? We know full moon is when the moon is full, then it starts waning, right? After the waxing, so to speak. So now, let me ask you a question. If the whole point is to emphasize the light, how things are shining, why are these two holidays, Chanukah and the 19th of Yud-Tes Kislev, why are they dafka after the full moon? Right? Full moon is Thursday. Yud-Tes Kislev is, what is it? It's Tuesday, right? Next week. And Chanukah is the week after. So why are the greatest holidays, so to speak, of Kislev at the end of the month, when it's so much darker? Does anyone have a good answer? Well, I'll tell you what I heard from the Lubavitcher Rebbe himself. The last time he made a farbrengen for this time of the year, for this parsha Vayishlach, end of 91, beginning of 92. As we say, a little light dispels a lot of darkness. If you want to really emphasize the greatness of the light, so the darker it is, then the contrast is even more. I hear you. Like we spoke about this a couple of weeks ago also. If you're going to put on a flashlight in a room that's already lit, it doesn't mean much. In fact, there's a term in Gemara, shraga betira mayane. What is if you have a bonfire going, what is your little candle going to help? It's already lit up, right? Understood. True. But there's a deeper reason specifically having to do with the moon here. And this is what the Rebbe said. It's a beautiful verse. He said, what does it mean that when in the first half of the month the moon is shining, getting bigger? What is happening to the moon itself versus Earth? So the answer is that when the moon is waxing, what is happening is that the moon is getting more distant from planet Earth in its orbit. And because it's more distant, so to speak, so then we get more of the light, because then it's more exposed to the angle of the sun that's reflecting off the moon to us, right? So sun, we all know sun and moon represents mashpia and makabel, right? Emanator and receiver, right?
Mm-hmm.
So at the beginning, as we spoke about, remember at the beginning of this month, that the contrast from no moon to new moon is in a way more, even from new moon to full moon, because you're going from nothing to something, right? Okay, Bir Hadvarim, interpret. Sibas Hashini, the reason, the difference of the first half of the month, that where it's waxing, to the second half, where it's waning, is because of the first half of the month. This is what the Rebbe says. The moon is becoming more distant from the sun. Okay, so that's what it is. Not more distant from the earth. I'm just reading here, okay? That I don't know too well astronomy or orbits, but at least what the way the Rebbe is saying is that there's something of the increasing of the light of the moonlight from night to night till full moon has to do with the sun becoming more distant. I'm sorry, the moon becoming more distant from the sun, and the more that the sun distance itself from the moon day by day, the moon's light increases. Whereas after full moon, the second half of the month, the moon becomes closer to the sun, and then ironically, its light decreases, because, and that was the Rebbe's vart here, that actually the first half of a month, what's happening is, yes, for us it's more lit from the moon, it's shining more, but it's also, it's only vis-a-vis light that we're getting more light. But the moon itself is actually in a state of again, distance, meaning it has less closeness, meaning that the emphasis is only that the primary positive or quality that we're emphasizing here is the light itself, meaning that we're saying that the greater the light, the brighter it is, right? Or that is its virtue, that there's more light to the moon. But really, deeper, it's actually farther from the sun. Okay. What happens when the moon gets closer to the sun? Then it's less light for us, right? So it seems like it's more of a flaw in a way. But really, there's something deeper. And I think we spoke about this a few weeks ago in another context. That though we say, of course, that the whole point is about revelation, illumination, as we were speaking also before about Or, Schneur, and other things. But according to Chassidus, there's something greater than even the greatest light. And that is the essence of God, or of the divine. What is known as Atzmut, the essence. From Atzmut itself, we are biased that light, illumination, or revelation is greater than darkness or concealment. But from the perspective of the essence, light and darkness, or revelation or concealment, are co-equal phenomena. They're both expressions of the essence of the divine. If you remember a long time ago, even when we were speaking on the concepts of Tzimtzum, we also addressed this, that in a way, Tzimtzum is as great, if maybe even greater than the Ein Sof itself, infinite light. Why? Because it's almost like we understand, it's natural, the God, the divine is about revelation, so shining, of course, it'll shine infinitely because the divine is in. But in a way, there's a greater emphasis to say that there's concealment, and even the concealment is of a divine nature. Okay? Or as it says in some sophisticated Chassidus, the irony that the essence of God is ultimately expressed through concealment. Why? To show that the ultimate source of the divine is not even, quote unquote, limited in unlimited light. As the great 16th century Kabbalist, Rabbi Ibn Gambai writes in Yahrzeit Kodesh, we have to say that God is co-equally great in limitation as much as in the unlimited. Because if you say God is only limited, that God is only the unlimited, then you are limiting God to only being unlimited. Therefore, God contains everything, including the finite. Okay, and that is the shleimus d'chayla, as we say, the ultimate whole. Every kol yachol, as we say, the all potentiality of the essence of the divine. And therefore, like in Kabbalah and Chassidus, they like saying that's why there's a certain virtue to certain aspects of the darkness, or even virtue to being in the state of exile, and right, and or even virtue of doing things even if you're not fully in an illuminated state. And it's because then you're saying that even when there's no light, but I'm still connected with the essence of the divine. Okay, that it's a fine-tuning state, because even if we're expressing the concealment, there's some revelation attached to expressing the concealment. The famous Vart is brought down in different Chassidus, including I think in Reb Nachman, who speaks about hastara shebteich hastara, the concealment within the concealment. Or we say about Purim, haster aster, double concealment. What does that mean, double concealment? Double concealment, when we speak in the divine, means that you're not that because regular one-time concealment is actually a positive expression of the divine, that God is expressing, or quote unquote revealing itself even through concealment, or in the state of concealment. When we say that there's double concealment, we're saying even that aspect of God, qua concealment, is in itself not being expressed, at least, or revealed, right?
Parenthetically, the Rebbe wrote a calendar when he was 11 years old, 11 or 12. It's recorded. I'm trying to say that this is not big time astronomy.
Mean that the Rebbe knew his.
The Rebbe had a tremendous knowledge of astronomy.
Yes, I know, and not only that, they say in his bedroom he had the star charts hanging in his room. He was also very into the laws of Kiddush HaChodesh, sanctification of the new moon, of the Rambam, the Maimonides, when he was younger. This is in his teens, early 20s, right? That is why I wanted to make sure I was just giving it over correctly from the Rebbe, because he was he was very astute in this area, unlike me. Okay, so therefore, back to this. So now, being so, when we say that the second half of the month is the time of darkness, what are we saying here? That and again, we're saying that the moon is ironically closer to the sun when it's darker for us. That means that the essence of Hashem is expressing itself through concealment itself. And it's precisely because the moon is closer to the source that it's able to express itself as in a state of concealment. So to us seems darker and being more concealed is actually just it's because we're actually, or the moon, meaning which represents the receiving end, which is also means us, is actually closer. Okay, so there's something positive even even in the darkness, the darkness itself. But again, if we're not aware of this, and we're just get used to the darkness, then it's not this concealment of darkness is not serving its purpose. The point is that we should be aware that the divine is even in the darkness, and in fact is expressing itself that way. If we and in fact that also that same divine source wants us to make the darkness light too. Okay, so therefore we're not satisfied with it just being dark, and specifically in this month, which is the darkest month, that we end off those darkest nights of the end of the month with light. Precisely again because we're more closer to the source, meaning the light of Chanukah and what have you. Because bottom line, for us, we need light. For us, darkness is darkness. we're not God. We don't see the darkness as just another open expression of the divine. So we do need to bring some light into the darkness itself. What is the famous vart that? I think it's maybe one of the I forget who it was, the Chidush Harim, the Merit, Beshispa, or someone said that the person who stayed, like the example of someone stays in exile and they think it's all great. It says that it's like someone who, when you first go into a room, it was pitch black, it's all dark and everything. But then after a while, you adjust to the darkness and you could start seeing things. Maybe not great, but you can start seeing a little bit. So the Rebbe said it's not shot. It doesn't mean that it became lighter in the room. It's the deficiency of the person that the person became more comfortable with the darkness. The person became more on the level of the darkness. So that's not what we want either. We want the taket in that dark room to go around and to find the match to strike and bring a little light. Okay. So therefore, looking, so yes, we'll celebrate tomorrow night full moon, and with all the greatness of that, and even sometimes it says that we could access certain places that are beyond what the physical ritual manifests, because you're not even limited to that, so you could reach higher places too. Yes, so there could be that angle too. That's the whole point, to make from the concealment, like the word Kislev is Chaf Samach, Kos, as we said, is like the word bakesa, like mean concealment, and make it lamed vav, the 36 candles of Chanukah. There's also the idea, I saw the Rebbe's father, who was a great Kabbalist, he writes the following, that what is the 19th of Kislev? What's the number 19? So if you look about Yud-Tes Vavke, the 4 ways we spell it out, right? So this is the most basic way of fully spelling out Yud-Tes Vavke. Yud Vav Dal Hey Aleph Vav Aleph Vav Hey Aleph. So 1 second. There's a reason why I'm highlighting this. So when we spell out God's name like this, so this equals what? This equals 45, right? This is why Shema, which equals, this is Ma, Shema is 45. Sorry, Ma. Okay. So if you take the Miloi means the extra letters to spell out each letter as a word without the primary letter that makes it that letter. So the milui of the word Yud Vav Dalet, so the milui is Vav Dalet. You understand? The milui of Hey Aleph is Aleph. So you're dropping the actual letter itself. You're just taking the filler letters for the word, right? So if you count Yud, the Dalet Vav, the Aleph Vav, and the Aleph, the milui of Yud-Tes Vavke in the spelling, it equals 19. Okay, that equals the milui equals 19. What else equals 19? The name Chava. Okay, Chava, like Adam and Chava. Adam is Memhe 45. Aleph Daled Mem. Right? So what we see here is, and so Adam is like the masculine, that's the mashpia, the emanator, the giver, represents their anpin, let's say in Kabbalah terms. Chava is the receiver, which represents malchus. So the milui of the emanator is the receiver. It's like the conjunction again of emanator and receiver. Chava is also known as the mother of all, Ein Kol Chai, mother of all. The one who births all, receives from masculine, so to speak, and creates new for us all. So again, that is Yud-Tes Kislev pairing the 19 number of Yud-Tes Kislev for Kislev is representing again that element of taking from the emanator, whether it's the sun, connecting with the moon, transforming for us, manifesting, making it whole down here. Okay, so that's just a little Kabbalah on the side, and this also connects with our parsha, also because it is related also to the aspect of this month Kislev also, because when is Gemini normally on the calendar? It's year into Sivan, I think, right, which is the time of also Matan Torah, Shavuot, right, giving the Torah. Right. And that's so the normally we say the Gemini element is because we say there's the 2 luchot, so that's the point. But the Zohar connects it with the twin of Yaakov and Esav. And the reason why it's connected to this month is, if you remember last week, we said that Sivan, just like Sivan is the 3rd month of the count. We spoke about more than 3 weeks ago. Just like Sivan is the 3rd month from the beginning of the year count of Nisan being the 1st month, like the idea, right? We said the count based on the birth of the Jewish people as a nation. So too, this month of Kislev is the 3rd month from celebrating Tishrei as the beginning of the year. That's right. So whatever Sivan is mirroring Kislev and vice versa, and they are also related because just like Sivan is the time of receiving the Torah revelation on Mount Sinai of the Torah in its entirety. Similarly, at least from like Hasidic and Chabad point of view, Kislev, especially with Yud-Tes Kislev, is a time of, like, you can almost say that, like the Shavuot, receiving the revelation of the esoteric parts of Torah. All right. So again, and also a certain doubleness, Shnei-Or, as we said earlier, the double light of the Torah of the Alter Rebbe, Schne-ur Zalman Liadi. Before I forget, just want to mention that 19th of Kislev is important, not just because it's the day that the Alter Rebbe was released from prison, but it was also the Yahrzeit of his teacher, the Maggid of Mezrich, passed away 19th of Kislev, I suppose the very end of 1772. Maybe it was either December 72 or January 73, because like in Hebrew, when you say a year, you have to look up year by year when it comes to this month of Kislev and Tevis, when technically the new Gregorian or Julian calendar began. And the reason I'm mentioning Julian is because Hasidim, which were primarily under Tsarist Russia, actually followed the Julian calendar, like the Russian Orthodox do. That's why also, though there's this whole thing of not learning Torah on the night of Xmas, which we follow is the 25th of December, yet in Russia they wouldn't learn Torah and what have you on the 5th of January, I think it is, right? Which something like that, which is the Xmas in based on that calendar.